That's working towards Madisonville. Whitesville, you're not officially in the warning there. In Davis County, down towards Fordsville, you stay in your tornado safe shelter until that clears out towards the Rough River area. They might catch southern sections there of Hancock County again, Jeff.
Okay, Byron, and let's check that. We've got another tornado warning. I think this is just a redefinition of the one in Ohio County, and it will continue here. We'll get an extension on it probably. Let me just check very quickly, and then I wanted to go back and look at that storm that is moving in, perhaps, to southern Hopkins County here over the next hour. The tornado warning will go until 10 o'clock, so 15 more minutes. That's in Ohio County, and it is a radar indicated storm. Now back we go to the big event of the night, at least so far, and that is this storm, which is confirmed. The purple color on there means that the tornado is on the ground. We know that this one has caused injuries and damage in its path. I don't know the exact path link yet. That might be a good one to measure, Byron. We know it started around Jonesboro Bay, and a quick measure tool might bring us some information about that. But as we look at the Paducah radar pic, again, you're seeing those very intense couplet right there in the middle of the storm. And I'm going to go all the way in on it. And just looking at this, the winds alone and the fact that they are that tight and together, this is a very, very well organized and powerful storm. From that, we're going to look for debris being lofted, and again, we're using the Paducah radar, which is closest, and we will go to our debris scope tool and look right inside here, and you're seeing, like I said, that's kind of a noisy picture there to try to parse out what's happening, but right up in here, yeah, so where your hook is, where your circulation or your mesocyclone, and right out in here is where we have potentially debris being lofted right now. And as we told you, as Byron said, you know, the thing's a mile wide. And what's more important is that it's headed toward the tri-state. It may not be this strong. Hopefully it won't be by the time it gets up our way. But we need to keep that as a possibility as we go into the coming hours here over western Kentucky. So I'm going to do a new track on this, and again, we're going to go right from where we believe the tornado is right there. You can see it. This is plain as day, and if we track that going at 50, of course that's going to just take it into the tornado warning cone. But if we look at a distance tool, what you're going to see, and again, we're assuming a forward motion here of about 50 miles an hour. If it stays just right down the middle there, that's going to put it into Hopkins County at about 10:45 or so.
Madisonville hasn't been worked over with any showers, so the atmosphere is not tamped down at all, and we're still waiting for the parent cold front. Also, Dixon and Clay, Providence, Madisonville, into Nebo, Princeton, Kentucky. And as you go down through Providence, down through Dawson Springs, Highway 70, Highway 62, we've called that highway out numerous times that holds together. And it's already a tornado warning there in Eddyville. Here is the wide view. We have another route. The cold front is still out. We haven't defined it, but we've got a severe tornado warning there for St. Louis. And we're going to watch these storms, how they behave. But look how I'm looping the radar, how they're racing off to the northeast, 45, 50 miles an hour. And the winds, we've depicted that the Evansville area up till 2, 3 in the morning, the winds at 9, 12, 15,000, 18,000 feet, or 50 to 90 miles an hour. So they're spinning and rotating these storms. Those tornadoes that Randy showed you earlier, the tornado was set up where it was working back with the upper level winds, and the tornado sags behind just a bit. That's because the upper level winds are going faster overall. So we just want to highlight these areas. Hopkins, you're into portions even of Muhlenberg County, and then into Webster County. Wait till these storms have cleared. We're keeping an eye on McLeansboro, Enfield. This is not as well organized, but I thought these would be candidates for some additional warnings. Albion, and then into Grayville. It's still it's producing a fair amount of lightning overall. And there's that storm now just north there of Centertown and out towards Livermore. You guys are seeing some rain there, so you guys are in much better shape overall than you were earlier. That's just some rain. Here's a look at the warnings. We're going to keep an eye on these warnings as we go throughout the day, but plenty more, Jeff, out to our west.
Okay, Byron, and a new severe thunderstorm warning. This is just out of area again, but it does illustrate that we are getting, of course, intensification. These storms are likely reorganizing out there, and that is always a concern. I'm going to go just for a minute here to a little different looking radar picture. This is a composite, so it's all levels of the atmosphere and all the radars feed into this, and we're going to back the radar screen out just a little bit, and I'll show you why here in a moment. And we're still getting tornado warnings, by the way, down here at Jonesboro. If we now put our storm reports on, what you'll probably see, and I haven't had a chance to preview this, but you're going to see a string of tornado report. There they are. So that is the path that this storm has taken. I was wondering earlier how long that track has been. So if we're making an assumption here. Now I haven't been able to really look at the data up close and personal, but let's just assume that we're down in this region, and that is actually, let's do a different tool there for this. We're not going to storm track. We're going to measure the distance that thing has been on the ground, and by doing that, this will kind of give you an idea of just how intense that is. So this storm has been on a path of about 135 miles, which is a long, long track. Now, it doesn't mean it's been on the ground the whole time, although we have a nearly continuous string of storm reports there along. And the importance for the tri-state is that we are still in the path. The storm is still going and still strong. And could likely move into Hopkins County in particular, and Muhlenberg. Those are the two that kind of stick down here and are prone to weather like this. Looks like we have yet another tornado warning. So let's go back, and that is, again, a redefinition of the one in Ohio County. So Fordsville still under the gun, as is most of the northern portion of Ohio County right now. We'll go back to a little better picture here on reflectivity, and you can see that strong inflow where you have a weak area of echoes pushing out stronger winds there to the north. Randy, more pictures coming in now.
Yeah, we're hearing from more of our sister stations on the storm moving up from the south and from the west. This is from our affiliate in St. Louis, KMOV, out of Edwardsville, Illinois. There is a large emergency response at this Amazon warehouse in Edwardsville. News 4's Jenna Ray was on the scene shortly before 9:30 p.m. tonight, saw dozens of first responders arriving in the area. There have been reports that people were inside the building when the collapse happened. Ray has spoken with several people who know people inside the building. Some of those she spoke with said, and they continued to describe what had happened there. But this is Amazon facility there. Very, very busy this time of year. No wonder there would be people in there at any hour of the day.
Yeah, it looks like some damage to that structure. And they do have a tornado warning, of course, into St. Louis that goes into southern Illinois. This particular storm should generally stay to the north of our area, but we'll keep an eye on it. It's going to be working into portions there of Illinois. Jeff's also going to be looking at that storm in Ohio County overall and see if we get a warning there for southern portions there of Hancock County. So we have all these pictures that are coming in. There's a look there of the radar. The radar indicated tornado warning from Fordsville, just east there, and Whitesville on Highway 54 and eastern stretches there of Davis County, and just north there of Dundee. Jeff?
Okay, thanks for those updates. Let's look at these storm reports that have come in here from the big cell there that's moving across Arkansas, Tennessee, and now far west Kentucky. And you're going to see what's going on here. Major damage at Mayfield, which you all had pictures of a few minutes ago. Prior to that, we had damage at Case, to a cafe and a fire department. Farther down, a fire station took a direct hit with people trapped inside. This was in Sandburg, which is down here in Tennessee. And then you get over into Arkansas, and the reports just keep coming in. So of all the things that I've seen tonight, this is definitely the most frightening to me, that we would have this storm hold together. And we're making assumptions here, but I think it's a safe assumption that this thing could conceivably hold together and make it all the way up into Hopkins County and perhaps the rest of the tri-state, unless it weakens. The best case scenario is it falls apart, The more likely scenario is that it produces at the bare minimum some damaging winds and possibly tornadoes. The worst case scenario is it doesn't weaken at all, and we're talking about a major tornado moving across the tri-state. So I might be getting ahead of myself a little bit, but we got to keep all possibilities open here. And this is why, if you're especially in western Kentucky tonight, whether you're in Madisonville, any place in Hopkins, Muhlenberg County, and then on into McLean and Ohio, even southern Davis, everybody really needs to keep an eye on that particular storm, which is now currently moving into the lakes region right now.
So in Kentucky, Jeff, it's only 30 miles away from Madisonville, so we're going to get a quick call on Hopkins and perhaps into Webster County, and you can take about half off there for Dawson Springs, which is south and west there in Madisonville. So, so just a big heads up, and the National Weather Service got multiple warnings going on, but Hopkins and then portions there of Webster County, and perhaps a little bit later on Muhlenberg County again, and McLean, because it's on a northeasterly course. It's moving along very rapidly because of the upper level wind support there as well. We have new storms forming down through Marion. Pretty good. They're more linear there in nature, but of course when they're lined up like that, they're capable of damaging winds there. But if that storm holds together, we're going to see additional tornado warnings for those counties that I mentioned.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all this evening, given what we've seen up to this point. So just a quick reset here, and at 10 o'clock, a couple of these warnings are going to drop. The one over extreme northern northern White County will likely clear here on schedule, and that scheduled time is 10 o'clock. Now, I want to point out that if the warning clears at 10 o'clock, we will continue our coverage here because we're anticipating additional storms moving in. We would appreciate any reports that you have of damage in your area, pictures that you can send. Randy is going through those now. And Randy, what site are you looking at for these? Do you have a particular spot?
Well, I'm looking at Twitter. I'm also looking at the 14 News Facebook page and also the 14 First Alert Weather app. Also, Facebook, people are mailing pictures in through Facebook. So there's any number of ways that people can send those
Okay, and we've got folks looking at all of this stuff and sending it along. So whatever way you can get that information to us, do it quickly and often here, so we can continue to tell you that weather story right down to your neighborhoods and where you live. With that storm now moving into Hancock County, wouldn't surprise me to see another warning of some type there in Hancock. But let's give a little more attention here to Fordsville, which is right now in the eastern portion of that severe thunderstorm warning. And I want to use a little better radar pick, so we're going to try Louisville again, now that this has gotten a little farther. And the storm currently is passing to the north of Fordsville. The distance there from downtown Fordsville out to the strongest part of the storm, about 5 miles. So you're seeing the lightning, you're hearing the thunder, you're getting the wind. And speaking of wind, let's see what that's showing, again, out of the Louisville radar, which has the best view of that particular storm. And right up here, out again about 3-4 miles up the road from Fordsville, we're showing some winds there aloft in the storm of between 70 and 80 miles an hour. Down on the ground, it's probably somewhere closer to 50 to 60. Just using rough math here based on the distance from the radar, because we're looking at the storm pretty high up, and that is still moving right along. These storms are not lingering, that's for sure. They're regenerating, but they're not. They're fast movers, as we expected for tonight. So let's clear that information off, and we will go back to the more traditional-looking radar, and then give you another storm track based on what we're seeing. If you think of it and you have the ability, and I just had to do it too, keep your phone on charge, because they're going to run down quickly if you're watching streaming coverage of what's going on here. You'll want to have batteries for flashlight function on your phone, or actual flashlight and things like that. So you don't want to get cut off here at the worst possible time. We're going to go back now to the traditional radar look, and I'm going to widen the picture out just a couple notches here so we can do an accurate storm track for you. And, you know, we've talked about this thing going into Hancock County, but right now, with just a couple minutes to go on this warning, the Weather Service in Louisville has not gone ahead with a warning, which is kind of surprising. Obviously, they have their reasons. They're looking at the same data we are. I would anticipate at bare minimum 40, 50 mile an hour winds in southern Hancock County. The cities that are likely in the path of that, the strong winds, would be Tar Fork at 10:11, McClaughty at 10:17, Kirk at 10:21. Then we're out into Breckenridge County there, Hardensburg and Stephensport, 10:24, 10:27. What do you have, Byron?
Signature, Jeff, down through Grand Rivers. This is a radar indicated tornado on the ground. This is headed towards Eddyville, Princeton, Kentucky, and then off there in the distance on the top part of your screen is Dawson Springs. So this is a confirmed tornado. I'm going to go ahead and take the velocity table and widen it out just a bit and loop the radar there downland between the lakes towards Eddyville. They're going to have to extend, I would anticipate, out to Dawson Springs, Madisonville. If you're in Nebo, the way this is holding together, even if you're in Hopkinsville and points north, that's just outside of our area. Look at that. That's a looping tornado there from the velocity table headed out towards Eddyville, Dawson Springs, the southwest there of Madisonville, and it's just zipping along at 45 to 50 miles an hour. I don't know if I can call it audible here, Jeff, but we could check in with you talked about our sister stations. I don't know if they have any live coverage of this particular cell, and maybe to get their perspective. I'm not sure if we're capable of doing that, but if we can, let's take a look and see what we have.
And of course, this is Grant Dade. This is our sister station in Cape Girardeau. He's tracking the same storm that Byron and I have been looking at.
So we just called out Grand Rivers, which we just the signature there, and I believe I called up the Paducah radar, and he's showing the velocity table, but obviously he's responsible for that. But you get into Eddyville, and then you get up into Dawson Springs, Madisonville. These warnings, I think, will be extended, and then even into Webster County, and then for our friends down in Christian and Todd counties, just outside of our area. So we were seeing the same signature that they have. Of course, we're using some of the down through Grand Rivers and just south there. So if you have friends and family down there, maybe shoot them a text to get into their tornado-safe shelter. And the reason we're spending so much time on this, it's working towards the Madisonville area. And Jeff, these areas haven't been worked over with rain as of yet. So the atmosphere is prime. Irrespective of that, there's just so much upper level wind support. Of course, we have a confirmed tornado.
Yeah, and for the first time here in about 3 hours, we have no active warnings for any of our tri-state counties. Doesn't mean we don't have weather, by the way. It just means none of the storms is warned at this point. So we're going to look at the radar again. As Byron mentioned, sometimes when we get rain only, that will drain some of the energy from the atmosphere and reduce that threat that you would have from severe weather. We can't count on that, by the way, because we have very strong winds aloft, and we have other supporting factors that we've talked about here this evening that will likely perpetuate some of the storms, and in particular, the supercell long track tornado that has been on the ground for quite some time continues to march to the north. You were seeing the coverage there out of Cape Girardeau, and I want to use the same radar that they're looking at, which would be Paducah. And you see that tight couplet now at Grand Rivers, which is right where Barkley and Kentucky Lake come together there, the two dams, before they flow on up to the Ohio River. That part of the storm is currently now within striking range of the tri-state, and by that I mean it's less than an hour away based on the movement that we're seeing now. So at 50 miles an hour, we're now looking at a potential arrival time here in Hopkins County before 11 o'clock tonight.
I mean, it's 30 miles away. I mean, it's 30 miles away from the tornado, and then you can see some of the tornadic winds. It might be down to about 20 miles. So we're going to see some new warnings, Hopkins, Muhlenberg counties, and then also up into Webster County, Hopkinsville, then as you run north up towards the Hopkins County line, then perhaps into Greenville, and then into Ohio County. It still shows the classic signature. It doesn't show any signs of weakening.
Okay, and Byron, from that, let's go back over to Randy Moore. He has, looks like live coverage or maybe some tape there.
This is tape, this is video. This is from the west. This system's not coming our way. It just shows you the power. This is rather dramatic video. Check this out. This is on I-55 near Caruthersville, Missouri, with not one but multiple semis thrown across the interstate after a wedge tornado moved through that spot earlier tonight.
And on the interstate, you just don't have any protection from the wind. You want to be inside out there, so you have semis that are being flipped. So obviously you have, look at that. Boy, I just hope everybody is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Yeah, and so this is obviously Exhibit A now as we go into our coverage here for the next hour. What will this storm do down around Grand Rivers? As Byron mentioned a moment ago, Dawson Springs, Hopkins County, all in the path of this potential storm. If it holds together, not a potential, it is a tornado on the ground. The question is, will it stay on the ground as it moves to the north? One of the ways we can at least try to answer that question is to look at how it's behaved. And we're not seeing any weakening here. Typically, you would see a storm cycle up with that kind of a signature, and then it would kind of get broader, the circulation would, and it would fizzle out. This one has not fizzled at all and continues to produce damage there as it moves across the Kentucky Lake, Barkley Lake area there at Grand Rivers, and then on up here into, I believe that's Caldwell, and then into Hopkins County if it holds together. So please, Hopkins County from Madisonville south and really all of the southern edge there, western Kentucky, needs to be on high alert right now for a significant tornado if this holds together. And that's really the story right now, in addition to the rest of the area, which has been worked over by severe weather this evening, particularly in western Kentucky. So from that, we're going to go back to a traditional radar view and back to our home view, because this, after all, is the Channel 14 News viewing area. And we are still seeing heavy rain now starting to move in. We are seeing, I don't have the lightning on my side over here. Byron, maybe you can talk about that after a bit. He's really working the storm down there in Grand Rivers. Obviously, if you're seeing lightning across southern Illinois, it's connected to more of a disorganized section of storm that is now moving in. We should start to hear rain here at the 14 News studios in the next 15 minutes or so. Heavy rain on the west side, back into Posey County, also into White County. It's heavy rain right now. Could be a flash flooding threat out there as well. What do you have, Byron?
All right, we'll make a couple quick stops here, Jeff. As you would take a look at that storm down towards Eddyville, headed towards Princeton, Kentucky. Probably most likely we'll see some new warning soon. There is the lightning with that large tornado, large wedge there, south and west there, as you get down towards Eddyville and these locations. Wow, just covered in lightning. And that's what the updrafts and downdrafts are. All right, to work the radar up north, up over Allendale, Highway 1. This is northern Wabash County, Lancaster. A fair amount of lightning there as we electrify the atmosphere there out towards Albion and Grayville. No official warnings on this out towards Vincennes and Princeton there as well. Fair amount of lightning. We have ice there. We have the warm front that has surged on through, but 10, 15,000 feet. Temperatures have dropped there below freezing. There's that cell south and west there of Eddyville down towards Grand Rivers. Not too far away from Dawson Springs. I'll put a track on that. You get out towards Princeton, Kentucky there at 10:24. Saratoga at 10:15. These are cities and towns just outside of our area, but I think pretty quickly we'll have an evaluation of Hopkins and then into portions there of Webster and perhaps northern stretches there of Christian County just north there of Hopkinsville.
Hey, and Byron, again, we're seeing lightning and heavy rain moving in. No additional warnings just yet. And we're going to go over to Randy Moore, some just incredible pictures coming out of Missouri.
Yeah, take a look at this tornado right here, and it comes from a reliable source. This is a guy that calls himself the Alabama Storm Tracker, and this is that massive tornado, he says, that crossed I-155 at mile marker 16, just tossing those semi-trucks. This tornado, we're told, is the same as the one that hit Monette, Arkansas. That hit that nursing home there, killed 2 people, injured 20 others. And he makes the comment, this is going to be horrible when we see daylight, an understatement.
That is a large wedge.
Yeah.
I mean, that's large by any stretch there. So that fits, could be a mile wide. There's just it's, in contact with the ground, obviously, and it's being backlit there, but that's a gigantic tornado. So we'll have to keep an eye on this. Where was the location on that?
That
in
is
Arkansas, north.
Missouri, wasn't it?
Okay, down through Crothersville, Missouri there. That's a
Yeah.
large wedge, so we're gonna have to keep it. And these storms are racing towards our area. Hopefully, they will break up a bit. So this is just a large supercell thunderstorm that's being forced to the ground. Jeff?
Andy, our news director, just informed me that our Cape Girardeau station was reporting that that tornado has been on the ground, the one you're showing, and the one I'm going to show you now has been on the ground. And there we go now for Hopkins County, and this is for that tornado warning. It has been on the ground for 150 miles. A long track tornado will probably turn out to be high-end EF3 or EF4 based on some of the winds and other information we're seeing. All right, it is back now into the fire here for Hopkins County. This is what we've been talking about and concerned about for the last half hour or so, because the storm has not lost any of its strength, and it is now moving to the north at about 50 miles per hour. I'm going to do just kind of a broad stroke on it here first, and that at that motion it'll get up here just almost to the Hopkins County line by about 10:30, and then between 10:30 and 11, if it holds together, it will move into Hopkins County, potentially as a significant damaging tornado. So please, Hopkins County, this is your time to get to shelter. Hopkins County had the strongest tornado of 2005 on November 15th. You might remember that one, EF4, and that was the one that came through Arlington and was on the ground, I believe, 40 to 50 miles, a long tracker as well. Cool season tornado. So this is nothing new in Hopkins County. The difference here is it's happening at night in December, and but you're getting a lot of warning here. So please, if you know people in Hopkins County, call them. Tell them to get into shelter now. And if you're in a mobile home in Hopkins County, you've got to get out and get to a public shelter. Go someplace where you have substantial structure around you, if you can. But you've got to do it now. You've got time, but it's moving fast and not weakening at this point. Let's look at the distance here again. And as Byron noted too, it's going to be up here close to Dawson Springs. That's 34 miles. We're going to just kind of round the numbers here. That would be like around 10:30 to 10:45, depending on the ultimate track, and then potentially into Madisonville within the hour, if it holds together, and if that's the path it takes. It could turn, of course. It could vary. That's why the tornado warning here is kind of broad toward the end, because there's some uncertainty, just like a hurricane. You don't know exactly how it's going to path, so I just drew it straight down the middle. But in any case, that thing is a monster. It is dangerous, and you need to heed the warnings now while you can. Let's clear the information off the screen. I'll get you the particulars on that warning, although, just suffice to say,